right, guys. Well, thanks for coming out. Got some exciting stuff to show you today here. So, obviously, a lot of you have seen me talk before. A little background on anyone if they haven't. My name's Jaxon. I'm an organic lead generation specialist. I got my start initially online. I've gotten hundreds of millions of views from content. I started a brand called Passion Toolbox. It was all about studying how brands become successful. And over 2 years, I was able to get hundreds of millions of views. I have videos like this one that got nearly 8 million views online. And I really learned how these algorithms work, right? I kind of mastered the art of organic lead generation, right? But to start off, I just want to learn a little, get a little refresher of what each person in the room does and what your business is. So obviously we got my guy in the back. Remind me what you do again?
Research and development company focused on space technology, emerging tech, AI, stuff.
Cool.
So,
and what about you?
The government contract.
Yeah, the government contract.
I got two different ones. Number one, I'm a business analyst for a healthcare company.
Yeah.
Basically, I deal with data, mine data, create reports, help business people understand what the heck they've got, what the heck they can do with it.
Yeah.
And then I've got my side business, I work in simulations. And if you ever saw the movie Ready Player One, we have the technology we need to make that a reality happen.
Wow. That's awesome. What about you guys?
I am a licensed massage therapist, and I'm reaching out with
So, come on in, guys.
in
Yeah.
home.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Come on in, guys. What about you guys in the back? Obviously, we got Justin. We're just going around and talking about what each of us are working on right now.
Oh, okay. I'm Justin. I'm managing a fund, raising capital for a high-rise development in Dallas. And I've got a friend, his name's Eric.
Hey, what's up, Eric?
Hey, how are you? Jason?
Nice. Yeah.
Nice to meet you and nice
Yeah.
to meet everybody.
Yeah, what are you working on right now?
I'm all about giving, so that's the theme today anyway.
Yeah.
And I have a project called Art Delivers. And it's a project where you can give money, but in return you get a fraction of a piece of art.
Oh, cool. Kind of like an NFT
Money is
project?
not like, can you give money?
Yeah.
But would you like to have some investment in art?
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool. And did I miss anyone? I missed a couple of people over here, yeah.
I'm an IT project manager with government contracts. Currently, the contract I work on is I run the program at the IRS and all the customer service agents reps. There's about 45,000
Oh, wow.
IRS customer service reps that when they log on to their computer, you call in or walk into their office. The program that they use, that's the program I manage.
I love that. And what about you?
Home healthcare.
Home healthcare? Cool. Yeah, and this is my beautiful girlfriend. She does cinematography, so if anyone needs photos or pictures, she's a great person to talk to. She's really good at what she does. So to dive in a little more about my story, so after I launched this channel, I was able to parlay that into a music career. So I was able to tour all across the country, live my dream, live off of brand deals, and really build a large presence online. And then now I'm working with a guy here in town named Bill Walsh. We run something here in town called the Vegas Podcast Mansion. So we bought a big house over in Southern Highlands, turned each room into a podcast studio. We shoot a bunch of podcasts out of there, right? So today I'm going to dive into detail a little more on how we can generate more leads for our business. I know we talked about this before. One of the things I'm going to be diving into today as well is where I believe we're headed, right? As we know right now, AI technology is advancing at a rapid rate. And it's important to understand where we're going, because if you don't stay on the forefront of this technology, it's like trying to compete in a race when they have a Ferrari and you're on a bike, right? So it's important to understand the fundamentals of these strategies when it comes to content, but also how we can incorporate AI into this to make this process much more efficient. So now we live in a world now where social media has essentially become your new resume, right? We typically hand out business cards, but nowadays, when we connect with people, a lot of people are going, oh, what's your Instagram, right? And what's your LinkedIn? Add me on socials. And so it's important that our social media has a varied presence. Say what up to Bill Walsh in the building. What's up? Bill's the guy that I run the podcast mansion with. What's up? Come on in, come on in.
Shameless
Yes, sir. Yeah, so if social media is our new resume, we need to make sure that we're optimizing our socials for success, because people are going to make opinions on us when they click on our profile, right? So it's important when we're putting out, when we're sharing our social medias, that we optimize ourselves to be an authority, right? So what does that look like? Well, you need a clear username that's your actual name. No Johnny72 underscores, right? That's not going to come off as professional, right? We also want to make sure we have a clear picture of yourself and an SEO optimized bio, because when people are looking for people in your industry, you want to be the one that shows up, right? So right here in our name on Instagram, if you put that there, now you can be someone that pulls up, and it also helps these algorithms figure out how to categorize you. Right? These algorithms, it's not like a person deciding what content to show. It's literally an algorithm that's scrubbing the data on your content and your profile to figure out who is the right person to show this to. So you want to be very clear, if you're a massage therapist, to put massage therapist and then put the location, Las Vegas. Right? So now when someone's looking up for a Las Vegas massage therapist, you're going to be what pops up. Right? Now outside of that, we also want to make sure in our story highlights that we're including who we are, what we do, and how we help people, right? Because this will give people a better chance of understanding how we can serve them, right? And so that's something I recommend to do on your profile. That's going to help a lot with getting and converting that traffic more. And this is essentially how we can kind of funnel people to making money, right? Is we're getting all this attention from our content, from networking. Those people are then going to our profile. They're looking at our profile, and then we need to incentivize them via a call to action to message us, right? You can't just get attention. You need to be able to convert that attention into conversations. Because I'll tell you firsthand, views don't make you money. Conversations with your target market is what makes you money. So it's important that you're optimizing for that. And so when we put that within our bio, it gives us the ability to actually turn this attention into business, right? Now, the way these algorithms have shifted over the last couple of years is huge, right? So it's important to understand, how do we actually get that attention to our profile, right? So basically, TikTok came out, and it was like a new drug hit the market. Right? It's like Walter White, right? He came out with the blue eyes, and all of a sudden everyone was coming to him. So what happened is, the reason they were so much better at getting our attention is because their algorithm was predicting what to show us instead of us deciding what to show us. It was curating the feed for us and looking at data to decide what has the highest probability of keeping our attention. So what happened is, since it was so accurate with these AI algorithms at predicting what we want to see, what's going to elicit the most dopamine, all these other platforms began to copy them because they started to lose their audience to TikTok, right? So Instagram and Facebook came out with Reels, YouTube came out with Shorts, LinkedIn rolled out their own version. Every platform incorporated their own short form algorithm. So when we're looking at what content will generate attention, when we're creating this short form media, you're not just like, oh, am I posting on TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn? It's all of the above, right? So you can put this content everywhere, and that's going to increase the probability of us getting results, right? So the way these algorithms work is, it's kind of like having a slot machine you don't have to pay for, right? If you went over to Caesars right now and that slot machine was free, how many times are you going to pull that lever? You're going to pull it as many times as you can because it's free. Right? And so this is one of the big mistakes people make with social media, is they'll work really hard to put out a piece of content, and then when it doesn't perform, it starts to affect the amount of velocity that they put out. And what I learned was, if you can just focus on the lever of the amount of volume, you increase the probability much higher of actually producing a result from your content. Right? So when you need to make this shift from like being emotional around the outcome of your content to just literally understanding it's a probability game. When you're first starting, you probably have about a 1 to 5% chance of your content hitting in the algorithm. So instead of looking at like, how do I get this video to like 50%, it's more about looking at, how do I put out 20 videos? Because what you'll find is, once you have a video that hits, you can figure out what we'll talk about after this slide, which is how to get them to hit over and over again. Right? And then what happens with these content is, when we look at like what the algorithm is looking for, what it's looking for is the data of watch time, how long you can keep someone's attention on a video. If that watch time passes a certain threshold, they push you to a new wave of people. right? So they start by showing you to a small group of people. If it performs well with them, they show it to a bigger group, and then a bigger group, and so on and so forth. So sometimes you'll have a video that's right on that tipping point of going to a whole new wave of people, but it just needs a little more watch time. So when you have another video that hits, it spills over into there, and then that pushes that to the next wave. So the other big thing with content is you need to make sure you're having consistency, because how one video performs will affect how the next video performs, right? Now, when we're looking at, okay, what content do I make, right? You're going to make a lot of different content than you're going to make. So how do we know what type of content is actually going to produce business for us? Well, I've really put it into two buckets. There's really two strategies that you need to implement to see consistent results, right? The first one is what we call a repeatable content formula. What is something that you can do over and over again, just changing one variable, right? The other is what we call the Dream 100 strategy, which is who are the 100 people in your industry that already have an audience of your target market. If we can get in front of them, the probability of that converting into us getting in front of our target market is much higher, because they've already built an audience of our target market that likes, knows, and trusts them. If they're in our content, they're automatically edifying us and making it for the ability for us to turn them into clients much higher, right? So let's start with the first one. How do we find a repeatable strategy? Right? Because what she's going to do being an author is going to be different than what you're going to do being a massage therapist, right? So what we want to do is we want to start by copying what already works in our niche. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. If there's already content that's worked for a massage therapist, chances are if you do similar content, it's going to get their attention at a similar rate, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to search into your niche. So I use fitness as an example, right? If you type in fitness and then click these three little dots at the top, we can filter and see what videos perform the best in our niche, and we can use these as an example, right? So we can start to make our own version of this content for ourselves, right? And when you're starting, you're just going to start by throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall until something sticks. And then when that video hits, you need to ask yourself, how can I recreate that over and over again? So here's a couple examples of that. So this is my friend Josh.
What's a piece of information that you learned?
He put out this video right here. It got 18 million views. And when he put this video out, he was a broke college student working at Domino's. We were literally roommates at the time. And he put this video out because he was in college studying finance, and he learned about this strategy where you could copy the same stocks as CEOs. So he saw this trend going around where someone's like, what's a piece of information you learned that feels illegal to know? And he made this video right here. Oh, passed it.
What's a piece of information that you learned that feels illegal to know?
Probably if you're an American citizen, you actually have the...
Oh, it's still loading. But basically what he goes on to say is shows that you can copy the same stocks as CEOs. So what he started doing is he started putting out a bunch of content around that topic. He's like, here's how you could copy the same stocks as Nancy Pelosi. Here's how you could copy the same stocks as Joe Biden. Here's how you could copy the same stocks as Elon Musk. And so he's making the same video over and over again, just changing one variable, which is the CEO or politician that he's talking about. Right? So now he doesn't have to think about content on the spot. He knows exactly what his formula is. Now, another guy here in town, his name is Cliff Pierre. He did the same strategy. So his was exposing secret websites. So as you can see here, he's put out 400 plus videos, and all of them get hundreds of thousands of views. Right? And so these videos, sorry, I'll go back and play it, is literally the same video, right? It's just exposing illegal websites that feel illegal to know. He put out 400 of these, right? And all of them go viral. Why? Because they're good at keeping people's attention. Now, do you think that's an idea that he came up with? No, he copied it from someone else. But guess what? If you got 300 million views, do you really care if someone else did it too? No, right? So that's all he did, right? So like, watch this. All these videos, look, 12 million, 30 million, 10 million. It's all the exact same content. He's just doing it over and over again.
That feels so illegal to know. If you go to this website, you can use the power of Instagram DMs to turn your followers into dollars with chat marketing.
And look, same exact video, right?
Websites that feel facility to know. If you go
And it's the same thing. It's the same. If you just go to this website, right? So now what does he have to do? He just has to figure out what's the next website I'm going to talk about, right? So he'll go on things like Reddit threads and various areas that have all these websites. And he could pound out 30 of those videos in one day. Why? Because he's not reinventing a script. He's not coming up with a new script every single time. He's just copying the same formula, right? So this is the first thing that I challenge you guys to do, is figure out what is my repeatable formula. How do you figure that out? By just copying what's already working, throwing a bunch of shit at the wall until something sticks. And then once you have that, now it's very easy to put out 2, 3, 4 videos a day because you're just repeating the same thing over and over again, right? Now, the other big thing on where this is headed is once you find that thing that works, right, you can automate this with AI. This is where it gets crazy. Now, I don't recommend automating and let me rephrase that. This is where we're headed in the future, right? So once you find something that works, it becomes much easier to crank out more of that content following a very basic formula, right? But where we're headed with this is in the future, you're not even going to have to record the content yourself, right? So let me show you an example of this. So this right here is a video that I recorded of myself just talking in my bedroom, right? So this is a video just on my iPhone.
How's it going, everyone, over here at Tech Alley? Excited to show you this demo that I'm doing right now, showing off this new awesome technology we call SuperDuper. So here in the near future, most of your content creation isn't going to be you anymore.
So this is just a 2-minute video of me talking, right? This is all we need, is we need a 2-minute video of you talking about literally whatever. You could talk about the weather, you could talk about whatever. We just need to capture your face and your voice. And using that, we're able to upload a script to create this video right here, which is all AI. This is not me at all. This is all a deep fake version of myself.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast mansion. Today, I want
if it wants to load.
to show you the incredible power of leveraging AI technology to take.
So think about this.
Hey, how's it going, everyone, over here at
This video,
excited to show you this demo that I'm doing right now.
this video of being able to automate myself with AI, like think about the implications of this technology. If there's a version of me that looks exactly like me, sounds exactly like me, and I didn't have to record that video, this is where we're headed, right? And one thing we always say about AI is it's not going to get any worse. It's the worst it's ever going to be, right? So even if this tech is 98% there, it's important that you get on the forefront of it. Because if I have a formula where I can make the same types of videos over and over again, and I have an AI version of myself that can record it for me, and there's now AI versions that can edit it for you, what amount of volume of content could I produce? I could be producing endless videos. What if I had a channel following one of those formulas where I'm just looking at what's happening in finance, and I'm scanning pages like Fox News or MSNBC Finance or whatever, Bloomberg, and it's just pulling news stories, and I'm using AI to write scripts using my formula, and then just uploading it into this AI. I could have a 24-hour news cycle with my AI avatar, and you wouldn't even know that it was fake, right? So what we're about to see is we're about to see this exponential increase in the amount of content that's being produced in the marketplace. So no longer can you get away with just putting out a couple of videos a week. It's just not going to fly, right? You need to not just leverage these formulas, but be able to power it with a technology that will allow you to keep up with the marketplace, right? So it's important that you guys figure out how can I start finding what works for me, and then how can I automate that with technology, because if you don't, you're going to get laps around you by the people that are. Right? So that's the first step, is we want to find something that you can be known for. For my friend Josh, it was exposing stocks that CEOs and politicians were investing in. For my friend Cliff, it was showing you websites that you could use for your brand. Whatever that is for each one of you is going to be different. But if you can find that, it's going to allow you to drastically speed up the process of how to get attention, because you're not making it up on the spot every day, right? Now, the other strategy that's going to exponentially increase the amount of attention you're getting and the amount of clients you're getting is leveraging a strategy we call the Dream 100 strategy, right? So essentially what the Dream 100 strategy is who are the 100 people in your industry that already have an audience of your target market, right? If you know someone who has 100,000 followers in the massage space, and it's a bunch of people that are your target market, and that person goes on a podcast with you, and you can take a clip from that podcast of them talking about massage, what do you think they're going to do with that clip? They're going to post it to their audience because it's a video of them, right? But if your call to action is on the end of that video, where do you think everyone's going to go? They're going to go to you, right? And so this is something that can speed that process up immensely, right? Which is looking at like who are the top influencers, competitors, referral partners, complementary services. So maybe you're interviewing someone that does cryotherapy or someone that's into biohacking, right? Why? Because they still probably have your target market as in their audience, right? If you can get in front of them, now you're drastically increasing the amount of people that you get in front of that are your target market, right? And the beauty is you don't have to pay these people any money. They'll just do it because they want to be on your podcast, right? So what we've learned is leveraging podcast as a way to line up influencer opportunities, a way to network. It's one of the most efficient ways to actually generate new leads for your business now without having to have a big audience. And so this is essentially what that process looks like. First, you're going to reach out to someone and invite them on your podcast. Right? So we just launched something called the 7-Figure Club podcast. It's a podcast where I interview 7-figure business owners. So when we were at our Rainmaker conference that we threw last week, we had a room of 200 high-level entrepreneurs. At least 10 to 20% of those rooms were 7-figure business owners. So instead of me walking up to them and being like, hey, I would love to connect, I'm walking up to them and I'm being like, hey, I would love to have you on my podcast. It gets a much higher conversion rate at actually getting them to want to interact with me. So I did that with this guy, Alexander. He runs a big multi-million-dollar gold trading company, right? And guess what? If he runs, a multi-million-dollar company, do you think he knows other multi-millionaires? Of course. So guess what I'm going to do after I post the video? Or what I already did is just go, hey, Alexander, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. Who are 2 to 3 other 7-figure business owners you know that I could interview? Right? So now, independently of if that content gets a single view, I'm going to start to build a referral pipeline. Right? If I have him on and then he sends me 2 people, who send me 2 people, who send me 2 people, 1 turns into 2, which turns into 4, which turns into 8, and independently of the content ever getting a single view, I could eat just off of that referral pipeline. You got a question?
Going back to what you just said very recently, then you apply your repeat script to them and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Rinse, cycle, and repeat.
Exactly. Yeah. And so not only are we able to build that referral pipeline, but this is actually why we launched the podcast studio, which is what we learned is if you shoot it in an actual studio, they take you much more serious, right? And the whole idea behind the podcast mansion is essentially we're combining a podcast studio with a country club. Because what we learned is the value, yes, the content over time will be very valuable, but it's really in the relationships. A majority of us here get our business from networking and referrals. And so there's no point of reinventing the wheel. Let's skyrocket that wheel and just make it more efficient. Right? And if we could do that, we could eat just off of that referral pipeline. And then now we can play the long game with the content without needing it to immediately turn into new clients. Right? Now, after we get those referrals, what are we going to do? We're going to take this episode where you interview a cryotherapy person, where you ask them 10 questions, and we're going to turn that into 10 different clips, right? That we could put on LinkedIn, Facebook, Snapchat, Reddit, everywhere, right? And then if we have a call to action on the end of it, pointing them to some sort of lead magnet, some sort of offer we have, now we can start to take that attention and incorporate it into an actual conversation, right? Because that's the big piece too that people mess up is they focus so much on getting attention that they don't realize that views and followers are actually the wrong KPI. The KPI we're looking for is actual attention. So for example, take out your phones real quick. Text the word mansion to 26786. Just do that for me real quick. and you're going to see something. So this is a mobile platform that we use that allows us to take a lot of this information and capture it. And when you opt into that, it's going to invite you to our website to go to our next event, right? So imagine if on all of those clips at the end of it, I could have a call to action inviting them to our next event, or inviting them onto my podcast, or inviting them to some sort of free offer. And then that mobile platform is going to follow up with you whenever I have something I want to promote. So for example, we're about to roll out a new offer. I'm starting to build this database. At a click of a button, I could blast out to that entire list, instead of having to sit there and manually follow up one by one, right? So now we're posting this content, and then guess what these guys are doing? They're reposting it, like I mentioned, right? So for example, this is one of the guys that I interviewed. And here's what you'll notice. This video I did,
Here's how.
it's grainy content.
Here's how a label owner got 100,000
This thing's really loud.
streams.
So I don't know if it's going to load properly, but I interviewed this guy, Matei.
I went to the bank and took out 1,000 in cash in $1 bills. We got like dye bags, you know, and stuff to dollar.
So I don't know if this video is going to load properly, but essentially what I did in that video was I interviewed him about marketing, and then he made a video, or he talked about this strategy where he would go to the mall and hand people out his song in a little plastic bag with a QR code in it and pay people $1 to buy his song, right? And he used that to manually spike the algorithm, and that was a way he was able to get his song to chart on iTunes. So fun, interesting little tip we pulled from an hour-long conversation. Well, at the end of that video, I put a call to action that said, want a free custom marketing plan? Shoot me a DM on Instagram. And he took that video, and when I posted it, he reposted it on his story. Now, why would he repost it on his story? It's my video. It's because it's him. He's in the video. I didn't talk once in that whole video. But guess what happened? They got value from that clip, and then what did they all do? They DM'd me. Why? Because I'm the one who has the call to action at the end. So that one video right there got me 75 DMs that I turned into $10,000 of business. Because those 75 DMs turned into enough sales calls that I could close 4 people on a $2,500 offer. So from a single clip, I was able to generate literally $10,000 in revenue. Right? So is every video going to do that? No. But if 1 in 20 videos did that, would it be worth it? Of course. Right? It's just a numbers game. Right? So how do we line up interviews with these types of people? Well, here's a script you can steal from me. It's very simple. You guys are already scrolling on these platforms, right? You're already doom scrolling on Instagram. I know you are. Don't try to fake it. You're already scrolling on TikTok. And guess what? You're seeing content that resonates with you, with your target market of people you would be interested in speaking with, right? If I see a video of Bill talking at Rainmaker and he gives me a really valuable tip, what I'm not going to do is just like that video and move on. You need to give these people their flowers. So what you're going to do is you're going to immediately message these people the moment you see their video. I'm going to message Bill and be like, hey, Bill, I saw your video where you're talking about Mobex Pro, and I really loved what you talked about with your, your mobile messaging platform. I thought it was really interesting. I've never seen that strategy before. I actually run a channel all about studying how brands become successful. If you're open to doing a quick podcast, I would love to interview you about your business and share that with my audience. Right? How many DMs do we get of people just trying to sell us? 1 million. But how many DMs do we get of someone providing personal feedback on something they enjoyed from us and then inviting us onto a podcast? Much less. So the opportunity of him giving me the time of day is much higher. And even if 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 bills says yes, the opportunities a guy like Bill could open for me are enormous. And this is what would happen on my channel. Yeah, from that guy I got 75 DMs, but there's this other guy I interviewed, and you know how many DMs I got? None. But you know what happened? He hit me up 2 weeks later and he said, hey, I have this brand that's looking to do a brand deal. Would you be interested in doing a brand deal with them? And that one brand deal made me 25 grand, right? So not only are you going to get clients from the content, but you're going to start to build a referral base from the network that you're creating, right?
And the truth is, if you just follow this strategy of DMing people when you're already scrolling and starting to act as a producer instead of a consumer, it doesn't take a lot of time. You'll naturally start to line up a couple interviews a week, right? Does that make sense? Does anyone have questions on any of this stuff, by the way?
I do, but I'm going to get with you afterwards.
Well, you can ask me a question real quick.
You're going to post this, right?
Yeah. It's going to be on Tech Alley.
Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to refer it to somebody else I know.
Cool.
For him to come in and talk and take a look at it and see things. And
yeah. Put us in a group chat. I'd love to speak with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, whoa, outside of that, I know we have a little time left. I wanted to dive into a couple of your guys' businesses and give some in real-time workshop examples of some ways you could apply these strategies into your business. So does someone want to tell me what business they run and I could give an example of this in real time? Need a volunteer? All right.
I'm a licensed massage therapist, and I don't have my page up yet. I don't have my money page up yet. Being introduced to doing podcasts is really intriguing to me. I've never done it in my life, but my mind is spinning with kind of ideas and stuff.
So who's a good client for you that typically uses your services?
I worked with, I was a massage therapist for a liposuction office here in Japan. And so that particular office sort of shut down and worked with a doctor that's fantastic that does liposuction, tummy tucks, and things like that. And his personality was so, like, he gave you the time of day. He listened.
Yeah.
He's a busy guy. But he stopped to be listened to any little thing, and he handled the patients right then, right. You know, he didn't leave it up to, you know.
So that guy was a good referral partner for you. He would bring you a lot of business.
Yes.
Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on Google Maps, right? Just go straight to Google. And you're just literally going to type in liposuction, right? And guess what's going to pop up? Probably some liposuction offices, right? And you know what you're going to do? You're going to literally message these people. For some reason, it's pulling up in Arizona. But look, I could literally call this guy right here. If I click right here, what's going to pop up? Probably their contact information, right? Now what you're going to do is you're going to reach out to them, and you're literally just going to say, hey, I'm starting a podcast all about body optimization. What does that mean? Whatever the fuck we want it to mean, right? It doesn't really matter. And since you guys run a liposuction business, I wanted to discuss with you what that world's like and how people can recover from it, right? And then what they're going to do is probably be down. And then after you speak with them, you know what they're going to do? They're going to be like, so what do you do? They're going to ask what you do, and now you have a warm introduction into them becoming a referral partner for you, right? And those right referral partners could change your business. Now, if you want a way to do this at scale, what you can do is you can use a site called igleads.io. And Bill, I'm going to show you that drop.co service I was telling you about. So what this service does is it has what's called a Google Maps scraper. So now instead of you having to do that strategy one by one, you can just go straight to this site and type in keyword, city, state. So you type in liposuction, Las Vegas, Nevada. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you all the contact information of every single liposuction company in Las Vegas. So now instead of having to have those conversations one-on-one, you can get all that information immediately. And then once you get that information, it's logging in, you're going to go to a site called drop.co. So what drop.co is what's called a ringless voicemail, right? So basically what this service does is it leaves someone a voicemail without calling them, right? So now instead of you having to manually call that list of liposuction people, you can create a voicemail on your phone and at a click of a button, send it to every single liposuction company in Las Vegas or LA or wherever the hell we want to get clients, right? So what this service does is literally all you have to do is come in here and remember your contact information, because I'm on the wrong one. And so I did this for my friend Adam here in town, and he reached out to local business owners to invite them onto his podcast. And we spent $14 and he got 15 callbacks. That's like 90 cents a lead, right? Now, do all those leads know who you are or listen to your voicemail? No. But if you have them on the phone, for very cheap, you can start to turn this into a lot of business, right? So this is actually something I did to help promote our toy drive, right? I made a list of about 25 business owners, 2,500 business owners, and now all of them have active numbers, but I'd say about 1,400 of them did, right? And I just blasted out to them. I said, hey, we're having a networking event here in town to support a local toy drive, right? And so what I did is I took that list and I blasted out. I said, hey, if you guys want to come out, we're having this local toy drive. I'd love to have you out. And when I launched this, I think it was about $15, and I got 10 callbacks. That's $1.50 per lead, right? You're not getting that from ads, I'll tell you that much, right? And so this is a strategy you can use to line up podcast guests on autopilot, right? You can start to incorporate AI outbound systems. And there's sites that do this for every point of contact. We use a tool called Easy Messenger that will automate outreach on Facebook and LinkedIn. There's a tool called Instantly that will automate outreach on email. There's a tool called, I think it's like Drippy, that automates outreach on TikTok. So what you can start to do is use data scraping services or data brokering services to build these super targeted lead lists of whoever your target market is. But instead of reaching out and trying to cold solicit them, you can simply reach out to them and invite them on your podcast, right? But then what will happen is you can use this as an initial baseline to get those guests, but where you'll really see the compound effect is when you ask for the referrals, right? Is getting that referral pipeline is really where you're going to see it start to compound. Because do you think someone that runs a liposuction company probably knows other people in the liposuction space, right? So that's something for you that I think would be smart, is you could find JV partners and leverage these services to automate a lot of that process. It'll put you in a position where, you can get a lot of good JV deals, right? And that's something that I know we do a lot. Do you want to speak on that, Olive Bill, on how we leverage JV partnerships?
It's just like you see, if you ever fly an airline, you see Delta partner with American Express. Now, why do you think American Express partners with Delta? Because it works, right? They're going to use a credit card in first class anyway. So think of someone that already sells their product or service to your customer, that you're not in competition, but you're actually making the experience better for the client. If you're let's just say you're a landscaper, then you can sell to someone that does paving, or someone that sells DirecTV, or someone that does roofing or windows. And if you can partner with those guys, your cost per acquisition goes way down. Yet because they're already a warm market relationship, you're more consumers more trusting to buy from you. If you're on a Delta flight and you see Amex in the magazine, you believe that that's probably a good partnership. And so many times people will buy those credit cards in the airlines like crazy, or they wouldn't keep doing it. They've turned those flight attendants into salespeople. So it's just an extension of one's brand. That if you sell Rolex watches, then partner with private jet companies. So think about who else sells to your client, and do your very best to partner with them. And if you'll do that, you'll see your sales skyrocket. Yeah, and that's what we do for our Rainmaker events, is we partner with a lot of JV partners to promote our events and use that as a way to help fill the rooms, right?
That's your number. Is that your number in there?
Yeah, that's my number. So one thing I'm also doing for anyone here that wants to sit down in a little more detail with me and look at implementing some of these strategies for your business specifically, I can help you put together a free custom content plan. But while we're here, who else has a business I'd love to give another example for? What do you do in the back again?
Developing an online travel agency.
Okay. And who are your clients?
I'm just at the very beginning of having
okay.
started
Yeah. But what about you? You said you're in government contracting?
Yeah, I do government contract. I work for a company called Citizen.
Okay.
We do government contracting. We're in the Treasury Department, Department of Transportation, Space Force. We have contracts with all sorts of different government contracts, and we do all of the IT work.
Nice, nice. And I know we had a new guy walk in the room. What do you do?
I'm a full stack developer. I'm into affiliate marketing.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, I'm going to use my girlfriend as an example. So she's writing her first book right now, right? So she's an author. She's really talented. You guys should talk to her, learn more about what she's up to, because when she takes out her book, it's going to be amazing.
What's her name?
Kirsten.
Okay.
Willow, what is it? Willow Lynn? Yeah. Willow Lynn on TikTok. Go follow her. Watch all her content. But what we're doing for her right now is while she's writing her book, she's starting to put out a lot of content, but she started a podcast interviewing authors. Why? Because who do authors probably know? People that could help her get her book published, right? And what do authors also know? Probably what has helped them make their books successful, right? So she's starting a podcast called Book Talk in the book niche, and that allows her to start to serve that market. And here's the other thing that will happen with these algorithms, is what they're doing is they're looking at your niche and they're going, who is most likely to resonate with this content? So when you start to collaborate with other people in your subset niche, for her that's authors, well then it's going to start showing that content to their audience, which is also people in that space. So another thing that happens when you do these collaborations is not only is it starting to get you in front of the target market, but it's starting to train these algorithms who your target market is, which means your content will be shown to a better batch of people when you're first getting started. You got a question?
Speaking directly to your content on the technical side, for what they call SEO, or search engine optimization, is the more links you have that are valid linked within the reference area, the higher your rating score becomes, because they rate everybody's score and they reset it on a regular basis. And so the more links you have to other people relating to that, the higher your score will get pushed, and the more you'll go forward ahead in the searches, and the more you're likely to be seen.
And that's where this starts to get interesting too, because what you can also do is take your videos and upload them into ChatGPT to write blog articles for you, right? So this content becomes able to be repurposed in a lot of different ways. And I think it's just looking at like, okay, if our goal is to get clients, which ones have the highest probability of actually producing a result? So if we come back to this one, right, these are all the different ways that we're generating lead flow, right? One of the twos I forgot to mention here is actually sweeping the engagement on your content, right? So when someone, the low-hanging fruit that none of us think about is all the people that like, follow, and comment on our posts, right? What you want to do is you want to use that as an excuse to start a conversation with them, right? So if someone follows me, I'm going to message them and be like, hey, Stacy, thanks so much for following me. Just curious, what made you interested in my account? Well, if I have an account talking about marketing, what is Stacy probably going to say? Oh yeah, I saw your video talking about marketing. I'm really interested in, learning more about how to promote my eyelash business. Oh, cool. Tell me more. What are you struggling with? What's working well? Boom. You know what, Stacy? Why don't we just hop on a call, right? So sweeping that warm engagement, I had this guy, he had 250,000 followers, and he was a fitness channel, and he was only booking about 2 to 3 calls a week. And when I told him to start doing that, which is start sweeping all the people that are following you and DMing anyone that is your target market, he went from 2 to 5 a week to 2 to 5 a day. Right? Why? Because Instagram will let you message up to 50 people per day, right? So once he started doing that, he started to see a much better result. And then if you have a high ticket offer you can sell them, then what you can do once this strategy starts to work is hire what we call an appointment setter. So you can have someone whose job is to literally just do this for you, right? And you pay them a commission on any deal flow that comes from those conversations. Then the last thing here is when we have videos like the one I was showing you here. I think it was this way. If I can find it. Whoa. too loud, I'm not gonna let that play. Videos like that one that made me 10 grand, guess what I can do with that video? Run it as an ad, right? With money that it already made me, right? Versus what most people do when it comes to advertising is they're like, okay, I got a 10 grand budget. I'm gonna pay 2 grand to the media buyer, and I got 8 grand left over to test copy. The problem is you're spending money on creative that you don't know if people like, with the goal of finding a winner that outperforms all the losers. Well, imagine if you only spent money on winners, how much money that would save you. The biggest money it would save you is not having to hire a media buyer, right? So if anyone doesn't know what a media buyer is, basically someone you're paying to run your ads. Well, we think we need these guys because they press some special button in the algorithm and are reading some really good data that can make sure that our ads are performing. Well, I will say, yes, it's important to have a media buyer to make sure you're not wasting your money. The truth is 99% of the equation that determines the performance of your advertising is just a creative, right? So if you have good creative, anyone in here could watch a YouTube video and set up an ad in 10 minutes. And if that creative is good, the probability of it performing is really high, right? And so this is really kind of the formula that we use to grow a brand, is we start by getting clients from what? Networking and referrals. You go to events like Tech Alley, you go meet a guy like Kurt Walker, for example, and if you want to connect with Kurt, what are you going to do? Hey, Kurt, come on my podcast. It's all about studying brands. What does that mean? Whatever the fuck I want it to mean, right? Then I'm going to have him at my studio where he comes in and goes, wow, they got this really cool studio. This is a really good setup. Wow, these guys really take themselves seriously. You're starting to build your brand edification. If you take yourself serious, they'll take you serious, right? After we shoot the episode, do you think Kurt maybe knows a couple entrepreneurs in Las Vegas? Of course he does. So what am I going to say? Hey, Kurt, thanks so much for coming on. Who are 2 people in the tech space you know that I could interview? And I'm going to get him to put me in the group chat right there before he leaves. So I don't have to bug him later and it's done. Now I'm going to get those 2 people on the podcast where I repeat the same process. 1 turns into 2, turns into 4, turns into 8. I will eat solely just off of that referral pipeline, even if I never posted any of the content, right? But then from there, what am I going to start to do? I'm going to start to clip up this content and post it, right? Now, maybe 1 in 10, 1 in 15 of those videos hits in the algorithm, but when one of those videos hits, what are these guys going to do? They're going to repost it as well, right? So now I'm getting access to their audience. Then from there, once they repost it, outside of that, I'm going to be sweeping the engagement of everyone in that content. And then when this content starts to produce money, I'm going to run it as an ad. Now you're getting cold outreach, warm outreach, influencer marketing, referral marketing, networking, advertising, organic content, and paid advertising all within one strategy. And when you combine that with what I was showing you earlier with the deepfake AI tech, you now have a completely comprehensive strategy, putting out multiple pieces of content a day. And that really, to me right now, is what I see working the most in the marketplace. So outside of that, I think I actually ended up finishing a little early today. So I'll leave the rest of it open to anyone that wants me to workshop theirs. But if any of you want me to sit down and actually have a conversation and look at your business, I'd love to take a look and give you any suggestions. And thanks so much for your time. Yeah.
Looking at the exponential growth of content online, I mean, it's been exponential. It's going to continue to be exponential as AI goes. Do you see, I mean, it just gets to the point where it gets to content overload. There's so much out there, you know, and AI is getting better and better at these algorithms, and it's doing it automatically for you. So when AI takes over and they know, you know, AI knows what it is, at one point when, you know, it's going to be the point where everyone's kind of on an equal basis because AI is doing it, how are you going to push your thing above someone else and AI is doing both content?
I think what this does is this feeds back into a higher demand for in-person relationships, right? So I think when the pendulum swings one way, then it has to swing back the other to counterbalance it. And so when we go into this huge world of digital space, what it does is you kind of see it happening already, right? Like what a lot of people are doing on Instagram now is just botting all their shit to seem like this big expert and this big celebrity. So now when everyone's a celebrity, no one's a celebrity. And so what I think that means is how you're really going to win in today's society is just focusing on how do I build relationships with people. Now, the content will still help you do that, right? But where I see this headed now is how can we take all this attention we're generating and point it back to either an event that we're doing or some sort of in-person connection. How do we build, what it's going to do more than anything is, I think, create a bigger demand for community, right? So asking yourself, how do I build that community is going to be the key, because it's no longer about getting millions of views. There's this thing they call, I think it's like the rule of 1,000, or no, 1,000 true fans theory. If you Google 1,000 true fans, you could look it up. But if you have 1,000 people that each pay you $100 a year, you have a $100,000 a year business.
Yeah, because I also see now, AI is going out and says, you're doing the search. The new thing is AI is going to go out to the search and search what you need without your input and stuff. So do those views, if it's doing it, count as the same view? I mean, on the other end, do they know if it's a person actually doing it or AI actually doing those hits?
So I do know a lot of these platforms do require you to say whether or not it's AI. Like I know on TikTok you have to check this is AI generated content, right? So I know that's one thing, but my theory is I think there's going to be a platform in the future. The next social media platform that I think is going to be big is a blockchain-based platform where you have to digitally verify that this is you. Because if I have a deep fake that could say anything I fucking want, I don't want something where I'm like, I didn't say that.
I see that happening.
You know what I mean? You see it happening already. There's people literally making videos of Joe Rogan endorsing their products and then running it as an ad. And Joe Rogan's like, I didn't even know this product existed.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, in my opinion, we're going to have to move to a blockchain-based social media platform.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't think it exists yet, and I know very little about blockchain, but to me it just seems like there's no other way to keep like everything in line.
It's going to get to the point where you can't tell the difference, so it's got to be
It's pretty much there already. Yeah.
I think what's going to happen more is that you're going to have a content confirmation kit, similar to what they did with X with the blue symbol, the check mark, and so that you'll be able to say, okay, this I did, and then the ones which you didn't, you're going to have a level of doubt. Also,
can I say confirmation on ones that weren't me that performed well though?
Getting back more to your point though, is as a result of the elections, they've actually confirmed that podcasts were more influential on the entire marketplace in terms of elections than the press corps.
And check this out. I have
Actually, Joe Rogan's podcast, they said that.
So check this out. I actually have a whole pitch deck to pitch to politicians on this exact thing, because I was talking to both sides of the political campaign trying to get this passed, and I told Kamala's team, I'm like, if you don't do this, you're going to lose, and I was right. And the reason why is we actually have data to back all of this up. Right? So if you look at the average amount of time spent online in traditional media versus new age media, it is drastically going to digital versus traditional.
I think what this showed too is, Kamala outspent Trump.
Yeah, 1.4 billion.
4.4 billion.
And she got her ass kicked.
Trump didn't spend anywhere near that, but he went on these podcasts.
That's it. And that's what I told him. I literally told her campaign, I was like, you guys need to hire me or you're going to lose. And I was right.
The 1.4 billion is just money lost.
Yeah.
Oh, it's even worse than that though, because after the election, the news stations that were broadcasting that Kamala was going to win have, I think on an average, 47% drop in viewership.
Yeah.
Well, you see this, like if you look at the data,
it was already...
Look at this data. So this is in 2023. This is the graph of do you trust traditional media, right? So there's a trend in the rising trend of distrust between traditional media. So people, we're not trusting news sources from traditional media anymore.
I think this election is just like back in the 60s when Kennedy and Nixon debated, and Nixon didn't know anything about being on television or anything else, and Kennedy just blew him away and Kennedy won the election. I think this election showed, how traditional media no longer is going to bring you the results that they want, the politics. I think it's
100%.
Just like you had
Look at this. I mean, look at this data.
Yep.
This is the average viewers for Joe Rogan versus all of the top traditional media sources combined. They don't match him. And this was in 2021.
But I think they, before the election, they kind of blew all this off saying, oh no, that's not going to have an impact. And then after the election, they're like, this is what's the main impact.
Well, the reason why is not only are they getting more views, but it's really because of where the information is being consumed. So I'll show you a great example here, right? So Donald Trump, he went on Impulse's podcast. If the internet here would work, you'll see that he got about, it was like 2 or 3 million views on the actual long form video. But what happened was he went in, I really wish this would load so you could see this. But what they did is they got 30 clips from that one interview, and those 30 clips got over 30 million views just on his TikTok. That's not including his Instagram, his Snapchat, his Facebook, his YouTube, and that's just him. The real ways it's getting views is everyone else that's clipping it. So Impulsive alone got 30 million views. You got 6.4 million on YouTube, but 30 million from the clips. But he probably got about 500 million to probably 5 billion in that range just from the clips from one podcast. Right? So this is really where we're headed now, is you need to build out systems where you have teams that are clipping it. And I learned about a software yesterday where you can upload clips and then you build these teams of clippers and then you pay them through an affiliate link. So I can upload it's this service I just learned about last night. I haven't used it, but it's called WAP. Basically what I would do is I would go and clip my own podcast. Let's say I got 10 clips. I upload those clips into this service and then people go in and they take those clips and they make their own version of that edit. And then point those people all to an affiliate link in the bio to my offer that they get a cut on. So all they have to do is edit the clips, right? And then everything else is handled by the teams, right? And this is really where we're headed now, is you need a combination of the AI systems I'm showing you that automate the content creation. So you actually have something that's you going out, that's building your brand around your niche, something you're known for, but then you combine it with the podcast clipping. Those two as a diversified content strategy are really what works nowadays. But I think the biggest piece on that I want to make clear is a majority of your business is going to come from the referral pipeline. It's not going to come from the content itself, at least not to start, right? It's going to come from who do I interview that I can immediately turn into a client. Because if you can start there, you could eat off the first 10 episodes you shoot and already be making 5-10 grand. Yeah. Versus content, it's going to take you a while to get that momentum going. Now, the exponential growth of that momentum is much higher than the referral pipeline, but the referral pipeline is going to be that kind of 90% of your revenue in the first 2 quarters, if you're consistent, to then create the funding to go fund a large team to automate the rest of that process. So, any other questions? Yeah.
How do you feel about the two-way street?
What's the two-way street?
You interview somebody on your podcast, and you let them interview you on their podcast.
I think it's great. The more the merrier. The more the merrier. That's all it is. The more you can shoot, the better. And the longer you can connect with someone, the better. But I think the biggest thing I just want to make clear is if you're just smart about reverse engineering, who could I interview that will build me a referral pipeline and start there, everything else will work itself out. Versus if you're relying on the content itself to create your client base, you just got to be willing for it to take 6 months. Because it probably will, right? Now, when it works, it will make you more than anything else. But just know that it's much easier to be consistent with something when it's already making you money versus waiting long term for it to make you money. So,
Hey,
awesome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for coming, guys.